Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Silver Spring. My name is Roseanne Douglas. I am this morning's worship associate, and my pronouns are she, her, and hers. Whether you're joining us here in the sanctuary or on Zoom, we are so glad that you're here today. From a diversity of cultures, sexualities, genders, and beliefs, we come together into one congregation. Here, we are always growing, always learning, and always loved. We are glad you're here, and we welcome you in the fullness of who you are. If you're visiting with us for the first or second time, or if you'd like to learn more about how to join our church, please be sure to find Linda Barrett, our welcoming captain, after today's service. Everyone is invited to join us downstairs in the breezeway for coffee after the service as well. Deconstructing beliefs and assumptions we no longer affirm can be hard work. It's led some people to leave past religious communities, support systems, even family and friends. But much like the deconstruction taking place right now in our community building, the purpose of taking things apart is to make space to build something new. Even if learning how to make new meaning isn't always easy. This morning, we explore what faith looks like after deconstruction. Note that instead of tromping through the snow to the fellowship house, after the time of prayer, kids and youth today will be invited to go downstairs and start work on our giant coloring pages. Now it's time to greet one another. We'll begin by greeting those on Zoom. Those in the sanctuary, turn to the camera to your right to wave to those joining us virtually. Now, if you're joining us by Zoom, it's your turn. Please turn your camera on and wave so those in the sanctuary can see you. Now I invite those on Zoom to greet one another in the chat, while those of us here in person get up and greet our neighbors around the sanctuary. In a minute or two, the music will start. That's our cue to go back to our seats and sing the opening hymn, 1022.
Open the window, children. Open the window now. Open the window, children. Open the window, let the dove fly. We get the words up. There we go. Open the window, let the dove fly in. Open the window, let the dove fly in. Open the window, let the dove fly in. Open the window, children. Open the window now. Open the window, children. Open the window, let the dove fly in. Open the window, let the dove fly in.
Neighbors lock their doors, build fences so high.
Open the window, let the dove fly in.
Don't see what's to discover on the other side.
Open the window, let the dove fly in. Open the window, children. Open the window now. Open the window, children. Open the window, let the dove fly in. Open the window, let the dove fly in.
Borders round countries, borders round the sky.
Open the window, let the dove fly in. Open the window, let the dove fly in. Open the window, children. Open the window now. Open the window, children. Open the window, let the dove fly in. 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 The dove fly in. Open the window, let the dove fly in. Open the window, let the dove fly.
Y'all can clap. That was good. Breath of life, spirit of love and justice, as we continue our lifelong quest for all that's good and right and true. Smile in our hearts with each new question. Nurture our curiosity in every doubt. Meet us in our own searching, and turn us toward the holy shining in each and every one of us. Good morning, everybody. My name is Reverend Kristen. My pronouns are she, her, and hers. I'm the settled minister of this congregation, and it's now time to light our chalice, symbol of our free faith, and reaffirm our congregational commitment. And Roseanne will lead us.
Please join me in saying the words on the screen. May this light warm our hearts with love and caring, and guide us in the ways of truth. As we gather here for worship, we pledge ourselves to the endless search for truth, to the right of each to believe as mind, heart, and conscience dictate, to accept the responsibilities this freedom commands, and to implement our belief in the essential worth and dignity of every human being.
Kindle a spark, fragile, full of power. Hold it in your hand, hold it in your heart. Let it warm you, let it fire your spirit. Let it burn bright. Let it burn bright in your soul. Kindle a spark, fragile, full of power. Hold it in your hand. Hold it in your heart.
So the story we have for you today is one of my favorites, and I hope y'all enjoy it. It's called Answer Mountain. So I don't know that it happened this way, but I do know that it's true. Let's move a little more this way. There we go. That once upon a time, long ago and far away, or maybe recently and quite nearby, there was a little town nestled next to a mountain, and on the mountain was carved in huge, bold letters, "The answer is no." The town loved their mountain and loved these simple words. It made it so easy to decide what to do, you know? Like, should I break up with my boyfriend? No. Should Should I jump into the river? No. Should I crochet a giant hat for the dog? No. Very, very simple. And for many, many years, they lived happily in the shadow of their mountain, in the shadow of the words, the answer is no. Until one day, a mother who went by Ma Custis was trying to decide what to do for dinner. So she did as the townspeople did. She went out, she looked at the mountain with her question, all right, what should I make for dinner? Should I make us all liver? No. Okay, she's like, well, that's easy. My wife hates liver. My kids hate liver. I won't make liver. Okay, don't make dinner. Should I make pizza? No, but everybody loves pizza. How about mashed potatoes? Should I make mashed potatoes? Yes. Yes. I see you're getting into the spirit of it already. So Ma Custis spent like the whole evening just out there having this conversation with the mountain. Should I make this? No. Should I make this? No. Right? And her family just went without dinner that night and into the next day. And finally, she had just had enough. And she went to the center of the town and she rang the town bell. Ding. Everyone make the bell ring. Ding, dong, ding, dong. And everyone came running. This town was really into town meetings. So the whole town came running, from the eldest elder with the longest beard to the smallest child carried in a parent's arms, and they all gathered there. And Ma Custis told her story, and she said, you know what, I think it would be nice if just for once the answer could be yes. The town people looked at each other and they were like, maybe sometimes it would be yes. I would have liked to knit that hat for my dog. I would have liked to jump in the river one time. Maybe sometimes the answer should be yes. And they talked it through and they were like, oh, yes. And finally their stonemason came forward, and the stonemason looked at the mountain and made a thoughtful face, and they said, I could probably do that. I could change the mountain. And everyone was like, whoa, that's a big, the answer had always been no. To change the answer to yes, this is a big deal, right? Everything would be different. They thought about it and they talked about it, and they were finally like, all right, let's do it. So their stonemason, whose name was Mason. Yes! Persephone knows what's up. Mason spent 2 weeks chipping away at the mountain and chipping away at the mountain and chipping away at the mountain until finally the answer was yeah. Yes. There we go. Yes. There we go. All right. Yay! So Mason rang the town bell. Everyone ready? Ding dong, and everyone gathered, town meeting. And they looked at the mountain. Yes, and Ma Custis came to the front. She'd started this whole thing. She was going to ask the first question. She looked at it and she said, should I make liver for dinner? The answer is yes. And she said, oh, but my wife hates liver. My children hate liver. Are you sure I should make liver for dinner? And the mountain said, yes. Oh, no. Everyone was very concerned. Ma Custis's children, most of all. So they started talking again. They're like, well, should we leave the mountain like that? Or maybe should we change it? And the meeting just kept going and going. It became more of a conference situation, I would say. And finally, they workshopped this for a while. They brought in a consultant. And they decided the mountain should say, the answer is sometimes yes, and sometimes no, and sometimes maybe, and sometimes wait and say, and sometimes I don't know. And Mason was like, okay, that's going to take me a while. I'll get started. And while I'm doing that, I'm just going to put another sign up, just a placeholder. And so Mason carefully placed a sign on the mountain. And at first, Mason did go up and work on it, for a few weeks. And then, Mason wasn't really into it. And after a while, the townsfolk decided they liked the mountain the way it was. They liked that sign that Mason had put up. And now for this town, it reads, "The answer is under construction." Did I misspell it? I did. Even the under construction sign sometimes needs an editor. In my defense, it was snowing. Mason's neurodivergent, okay? Thank you all. Thank you, Roseanne.
I took my love and I took it down. I climbed a mountain and I turned around, and I saw my reflection in the snow-covered hills when a landslide brought me down. Oh, mirror in the sky, what is love? Can the child within my heart rise above? Can I sail through the changing ocean tide? Can I handle the seasons of my life? Oh, 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 oh. Well, I've been afraid of changes, 'cause I've built my life around you. But time makes you older, children get older, and I'm getting older too. Well, I've been afraid of changing, 'cause I built my life around you. But time makes you older, children get older, and I'm getting older too. Well, I'm getting older too. So take this love and take it down. Yeah, if you climb a mountain and you turn around, and if you see my reflection in the snow-covered hills when a landslide brought me down, and if you see my reflection in the snow-covered hills, well, maybe, well, maybe, well, maybe, the landslide will bring you down.
I love that song. I invite you now into a time of deep listening and deep sharing. If you have a joy or a sorrow that you would like to share with the congregation, I invite you to form a line down the chalice side aisle of the congregation. Please begin by saying your name into the microphone. Please speak clearly and close to the microphone. You need to talk more closely to the microphone than you think you do in order to be heard. And after each person shares, I invite the congregation to say with me, in every joy and sorrow, we are held in love beyond belief. Do we have any joys or sorrows today? May all that magnifies joy and happiness be in us and with us today as we share in the joys of this community. And may all that brings comfort and healing, purpose and peace be in and with everyone who has shared a sorrow today, and in all those whose sorrows are too deep for words. Now, let us enter into a time of quiet for meditation, reflection, or prayer. If you've suffered a deep loss in the last year, you may stand or raise your hand during the silence if you wish, so the congregation can bear witness to your grief. Now let us prepare to be fully present, heart, mind, and body, in this time of quiet, grateful for the sounds of life all around us. I share this prayer with you. It's written by Brian McLaren in a book he wrote called Faith After Doubt: Why Your Beliefs Stopped Working and What to Do About It. It's a contemporary version of the Beatitudes. Blessed are the curious, for their curiosity honors reality. Blessed are the uncertain and those with second thoughts, for their minds are still open. Blessed are the wanderers, for they shall find what is wonderful. Blessed are those who question their answers, for their horizons will expand forever. Blessed are those who often feel foolish, for they are wiser than those who always think themselves wise. Blessed are those who are scolded, suspected, and labeled as heretics by the gatekeepers, for the prophets and mystics were treated in the same way by the gatekeepers of their day. Blessed are those who know their unknowing, for they shall have the last laugh. Blessed are the perplexed, for they have reached the frontiers of contemplation. Blessed are they who have become cynical about their cynicism and suspicious of their suspicion, for they will enter the second innocence. Blessed are the doubters, for they shall see through false gods. Blessed are the lovers, for they shall see God everywhere. Spirit of life, may all of us be blessed with curiosity and uncertainty, wonder and questions, foolishness and misunderstanding. May we be blessed with unknowing and confusion, cynicism about cynicism, suspicion about suspicion. May we all be blessed with doubt and love as we seek the truth wherever we can find it. These and all things we pray for love's sake. Blessed be. Amen. At this time, we invite any children and youth who would like to go downstairs to start on our giant coloring posters to head that way. You are also always welcome in this space with your grown-ups. Please join me in singing them on their way.
Our reading today was written by the Reverend Marta Valentin, Professional Development Director in the Office of Ministry and Faith Development of the Unitarian Universalist Association. She refers to three people in this poem by their first names only: intersectional feminist, writer, and civil rights activist Audre Lorde, American feminist scholar Dr. Rita Nakashima Brock, and Catholic feminist theologian Elizabeth Schussler Fiorenza. Reverend Valentin writes, "The first question is, at least for today, how do I construct a theology without a truth-filled history? Audre tells me that I cannot dismantle the Master's house using the Master's tools. To attempt to uncover who my God is with tools designed to exclude me is to pretend that I am blind, while born with perfect sight, is to forsake self-understanding that I might see like others. Elizabeth tells me to use the Master's tools to dismantle the Master's house. In the absence of a manual, I can spend a lifetime picking the front door's lock with a log simply because the log is there. Yet I know that same log will break down doors, and in order for me to survive, it must be the back door. No more. In search of wholeness, I ask if the answer is to create new tools or to create a new house. Or do we get rid of the house by getting rid of the tools? It is clear that the Master must go, but should a mistress move in? My answer lies in Rita's tribal consciousness of self-understanding, survival, wholeness. In creating, building, discovering out of this world's cacophonous madness, I can be guided through a self-governing tribe of voices that crescendo into chords of ripening wisdom, each with its own melody. I can have a center, a pliable observer that beyond hearing can listen, beyond seeing can reflect, beyond settling can choose, and in this way can constantly reconstruct meaning. Here ends the reading.
During the pandemic lockdown, one of the ways I cared for my spirit was by listening to podcasts. Of all of the new to me sources of insight, comfort, and wisdom I discovered, the most powerful was The Confessional by Nadia Bolz-Weber. A Lutheran pastor whose ministry has always been about serving those whom the church traditionally excluded, Weber called her podcast no BS space for people to talk about the moments in our lives we are least proud of. You can imagine how hard it was for her to find guests. Every episode is riveting, but the one I still think about nearly 4 years later was her interview with Megan Phelps Roper. Megan was raised in the Westboro Baptist Church, a fundamentalist church founded by her grandfather that's best known for things like protesting at soldiers' funerals. They believe every bad thing that happens is a punishment from God and that they are supposed to get America to repent by drawing attention to these tragedies. Megan was raised on a compound with other church members, given signs to hold at public protests with hurtful messages on them from the time she was 4 and 5 years old. A true believer, by the time she was a young adult, she saw social media as a tool to spread Westboro's message, at least until she began actually engaging with people outside of her church on Twitter. Some people dismissed her and her hurtful views immediately. Some people sort of, went for the low hits and, called her stupid and all sorts of things. But a few appealed to her humanity. And a few months into her Twitter evangelism, the first big crack in her belief system began to form. Someone on Twitter sent her a photo essay about a famine in Somalia, and the first picture was of a starving child, and it really, really affected her. Her mother was delighted to see this picture that was causing people so much upset, and she used it to make another poster for one of their protests. And Megan noticed how her church would delight in these tragedies, but people on social media were filled with compassion for those who were suffering. Compassion seemed to be missing from Westboro's message, but she was finding it in places like Twitter. Megan went on to leave the Westboro church, which for her also meant leaving almost all of her family. She rejected the faith she was raised in, letting go of a lot of what she was taught to believe, adding in new beliefs she'd examined for herself. And it's clear that this process has been painful. It's also clear that it's given her purpose. She's now a political activist who speaks publicly in support of many of the groups that she grew up protesting. Megan Phelps Roper's experience deconstructing and reconstructing faith is much more extreme than most. She had to leave everything she knew in order to follow where the truth was leading her. But even most people who didn't grow up in fundamentalist families or faiths must face the challenge of deconstruction at some point. A lot of people find congregations like this one after they've begun their deconstruction, attracted to the pluralism and mutual acceptance and appreciation for diversity of many kinds that we strive to nurture here. Since our faith encourages us to make our search for truth a lifetime project, I thought, let's think about that for a bit. In the 50s and 60s, a philosopher named Paul Ricoeur developed a 3-stage way of understanding how people approach truth. He called it a hermeneutical arc. I'm going to call it the stages of meaning making. The first stage he named the first naivete. This is a stage of understanding when we simply accept what we've been taught, whatever that happens to be. This is a pre-critical stage. Children are often in this stage. Adults can also be too. This is a literalist viewpoint. Ricoeur's second stage is criticism. People in this stage notice the contradictions between the beliefs they were raised with and the realities in the world and the people around them. They no longer accept some or all sacred stories and teachings at face value. They are approaching the world through a critical lens, we might say. And the critical stage of making meaning can be so difficult that a lot of people just stop there. Some seem to stop out of anger, others stop out of fear, afraid maybe of being misled again. But for Ricoeur, there is a stage beyond criticism, and he calls it the second naivete. I think Brian McLaren in our prayer called it the second innocence. People in this stage accept the wisdom that criticism has taught them, but then continue searching for truth again anyway. In this post-critical stage, sacred stories and texts and rituals function not as literal truth, but as symbols that point to deeper truth. I've heard it explained this way. People who wear glasses don't look at their glasses to see the world better. They look through their glasses to see the world better. And in the same way, we can look through sacred texts and stories and rituals and holidays to perceive new truth. Deconstruction and reconstruction, this process that Ricoeur talks about, that other philosophers and theologians have sort of made their own stages around, this process has been on my mind a lot lately. As this country and indeed our whole world becomes more divided, as people hold ever more tightly onto their positions on the issues, no matter what they are, I can't stop thinking about Megan Phelps Roper's story. Because it wasn't the people who asked her how she could be so stupid to believe what she'd been raised to believe that actually helped her. Funny thing about that. It wasn't the people canceling her, trying to make her feel bad about herself. No, it was the people who appealed to her humanity. The people who showed her compassion. I can't even count the number of times I've asked myself, how can anybody believe that about one thing or another? And yet, I look back through my own life, through my own journey of becoming, and I can find plenty of things I used to believe that embarrass me now. Plenty. A friend and colleague of mine is fond of saying that humans move through the world like giant projection screens, projecting our own fears and insecurities in every interaction we have with other people. So perhaps when we find ourselves asking, how can anyone believe that? We are also asking, how could I have ever believed that? Or maybe, could I have ever believed something like that if I'd been born to a different family, with a different identity, raised in a different way? Would I have believed that? Would I have made it to the critical stage? There are a lot of things that make deconstructing and reconstructing faith hard. But I think the hardest is the inner work we must do to find humility and compassion, not just for others, but for ourselves. Not for the beliefs. I'm not suggesting we work on finding compassion for the idea that anyone deserves to suffer, that some people are less important or have less dignity than others. No way. That is not what I'm saying. But I'm not sure how to continue growing as a kind and open and loving person without finding compassion for the living, breathing people who believe those things. We are living in a time when extremism of all kinds is growing. And as the climate crisis on this planet intensifies, the threat of extremism is only going to grow. But our call as religious liberals is not just to create a haven for people who think and believe all of the same things that we do. Our call is to work for our values in our community, both through advocacy at the local, state, and national levels, but also through our personal relationships with our neighbors. And in that work, we're going to encounter people who believe things that make our toes curl. We are going to encounter people who don't respect us for who we are or what we believe or who we love. I can't tell you how many times I've been told I'm going to hell because it's a sin for a woman to serve as a pastor. And of course I think, gee, if only you knew more about me. But anyway, that's beside the point. Is it upsetting when people say things like that to me? Sure. Should I allow that energy to dictate my response? Well, I'm human. Sometimes I have. But if our focus is the work, the building of a better world, then I think we must find a way to engage even meanness with compassion. I'm not saying I'm good at it yet. We can't control what other people do or say, but we can practice getting in touch with our own minds so we can choose how we respond in different situations. We can choose to respond in ways that exacerbate extremist tendencies, or we can choose to act in ways that interrupt and mitigate them. I hear people all the time, I'm about to go there, so brace yourselves. I hear people all the time ask me why Unitarian Universalism isn't a larger or better known religion. And I have some theories, but I think part of it is the reputation that liberals have for a kind of arrogance. Even if someone manages to make it to the critical stage of meaning making, even if they are interested in constructing a new faith, why on earth would they want to join another community that thinks other faiths aren't as lightened as we are? That thinks it's better than everybody else? That's what they've sacrificed so much and worked so hard to leave behind, just in a different form. The presidential election campaign is revving up, folks, and it's going to trigger all sorts of stuff inside each and every one of us. Anger, fear, revulsion, resentment, you name it, it's coming. We are going to encounter people in physical and virtual spaces who will say and do things that will upset us deeply. It's coming. Have we done the work? The day-to-day work it takes to stay centered amid what may be coming? Are we prepared to respond in ways that are informed not just by our emotions, not by our ego, but by our values, by who we want to be in our highest selves? If ever there was a time when the world needs people to be their best selves, it is now and in the days to come. If ever there was a time the world needs us to be clear about our purpose as a liberal religious community, it is now. If ever there was a time when the world needs people who can do more than just reject old stories and rituals out of hand and instead learn to look through them for new truths, look through them to find God, the holy, truth, deep meaning everywhere, it is now. Do we exist primarily as a social club for people who fall in the center circle of the liberal beliefs Venn diagram? Is that what we exist to do? Or do we exist to serve something larger than ourselves? Do we exist not just to reject extremism, but to interrupt it? Because if we want to be about advocacy work, to change our community, to serve justice, to make sure all people in our society have enough so their lives can flourish, then we have to find a way to meet even people who hold beliefs we find abhorrent with compassion. And we have to be about making sure our free faith is known not for a sense of superiority, but for our welcome and for our love. May we all find blessings on our journey to construct a set of beliefs we can claim with a straight face. A faith we can claim without having to cross our fingers behind our backs. May we all find the time and space we need to center down deep within ourselves to our deepest held truths and the peace that is only available here and now in every moment. May we all find the humility to remember that we have not always been who we are now, believed all that we do now. May we find compassion for ourselves and others, for the people we once were, for the work it takes to move into the critical stage of meaning-making and then back out of it again. May we grow and mature in our own sense of meaning and self, that we can offer others judgment-free space to demo and reno their own faith. And in so doing, may we help our free faith come to be known for our welcome, for our compassion, and for our love. Amen.
Not a single one of us has earned the right to be alive, and yet here we are. Not a single one of us has done anything to earn the abundant earth that continues to use sunlight and dirt to turn seeds into nourishment for our bodies. None of us must work to earn the beauty of the seasons or the reminder that change is life's only constant. And yet, here we all are. Of all the particles in all the universe, we happen to come into being here, to share time, space, beauty, and a generous planet in this very moment. So as we prepare for today's offering, I invite you to consider all of the abundance this earth, this universe has given you, and make your gift from that account. There are lots of ways to give at UUCSS to help make our faith and the vision of our congregation real. If you are here in person, you can also place your offering in one of the offering plates as it's passed around in just a moment. Now please join me in dedicating our offering to the mission of this congregation. The words are on the screen. UUCSS creates joyful spiritual community where we connect deeply, serve, and mobilize for our collective liberation. The offering will now be given and received.
Keep your heart wide open, though the waves want to push you around. You gotta keep your heart wide open until your faith brings you back to solid ground. Join me. I'm gonna keep your heart wide open, though the waves wanna push you around. You gotta keep your heart wide open until your faith brings you back to solid ground. I'm gonna keep your heart. I'm gonna keep wide open. I'm gonna keep my heart wide open. Though the waves wanna push, though they want you around, though the waves wanna push me around. I'm gonna keep your heart. I'm gonna keep wide open. I'm gonna keep my heart wide open until my faith brings me back to solid ground. Until my faith brings me back to solid ground. I'm gonna keep your heart. I'm gonna keep wide open. Though the waves wanna push you around. Though the waves wanna push me around. You gotta keep your heart. I'm gonna keep wide open until my faith brings me back to solid ground. Until my faith brings me back to solid ground. I'm gonna keep your heart wide open, though the waves wanna push you around. You gotta keep your heart wide open until your faith brings you back to solid ground.
And now Catherine Buckler will give our announcements.
Oh, great, thanks. Hi, it's me again. I'm Catherine Buckler, your president of your board of trustees. It is my honor to serve. My pronouns are she and her. We gather in person and on Zoom for worship every Sunday morning here at UUCSS. But our church is not only the organization that puts together these services. We are a vibrant collective of volunteers and staff. We are part of the wider Silver Spring community. We are a member of the Unitarian Universalist Association and part of the global UU denomination. Today we have 4 announcements. First, everyone is invited to today's worship planning open house. Join Reverend Kristen and members of the worship committee and be part of the creative process that makes our Sunday services possible. Light refreshments will be served, the nursery will remain open, and older kids are invited to participate. Second, while we are setting up for the worship planning open house, anyone with a question about communications here at UUCSS is invited to gather over toward the choir loft over in this area for a communications team help desk right after the service. This is a great chance to learn about the church wiki, which is our sort of online encyclopedia of the church, and groups IO functions, which is how a lot of church communication happens. Number 3, please join us next Sunday after service for the introduction of the adult Our Whole Lives. also called OWL. This is an amazing sexuality program that is considered one of the most important things that we do as Unitarian Universalists. Check your email for more information. And number 4, finally, this week is your last chance to submit a design for a Unitarian Universalist t-shirt design contest. Please email Reverend Caitlin for more details. You can reach her at ASMG. ASMG@uucss.org. Yeah.
Assistant Minister for Spiritual Growth. That's the acronym.
ASMG@uucss.org. I'm sorry. AMSG.
Now we all know it. Oh. I love serving a congregation that we can all laugh with together. All right, please join me in the words of chalice extinguishing on your screen. You want to, oh, good, excellent. Carry the flame of peace and love until we meet again. Thank you. All right, now let's rise in body or spirit for our closing hymn. The words will be on your screen. Love will guide us. Please be seated. I don't know what to say in benediction. May we all find blessing on our journey to construct a set of beliefs we can claim with a straight face, a faith we can believe in without having to cross our fingers. May we find the time and space we need to center down, to get in touch with our deepest self and with those things we hold most true. May we all find humility to remember we have not always been who we are today, compassion for ourselves and others, and for the people we once were. May we grow and mature in our own sense of meaning and self, that we can offer others judgment-free space so they can do the same for themselves. And in so doing, may we become the free faith, known for our welcome, for our compassion, for our love. Our worship now has ended, and our service begins.
When I was a girl, each week on Sunday we would go to church, pay attention to the priest. He would read the holy word and consecrate the holy bread. Everyone would kneel and bow. Today the only difference is everything is holy now. Everything is holy now. When I was in Sunday school, we would learn about the time Moses split the sea in two, Jesus made the water wine. And I remember feeling sad, miracles don't happen still. But now I can't keep track, 'cause everything's a miracle. Everything's a miracle. Wine from water is not so small. An even better magic trick is anything is here at all. So the challenging thing becomes not to look for miracles, but finding where there isn't one. And holy water was rare at best, it barely wet my fingertips. Now I have to hold my breath like I'm swimming in a sea of it. It used to be a world half there, heaven's second-rate hand-me-downs, but I walk it with a reverent air, 'cause everything is holy now. Read a questioning child's face, say it's not a testament, that'd be very hard to say. See a new morning come, say it's not a sacrament, I tell you that it can't be done. This morning outside I stood, I saw a little red-winged bird, shining like a burning bush, singing like a scripture verse. It made me want to bow my head. I remember when church let out, how things have changed since then, 'cause everything is holy now. It used to be a world half there, heaven's second-rate hand-me-down, but I walk it with a reverent air, 'cause everything is holy now.
That's really generous. Very beautiful.